Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's great to see some familiar faces in the crowd and hopefully some new friends that we'll make after this presentation. Over the next 20 minutes or so, we'd like to take you on a journey, one that shows you how you can implement what we see as the next generation of learning. We're going to show you an example for something that we developed for a large accountancy firm. It's a personalized, simulated experience that continually assesses learners in an immersive, serious game environment. But these aren't simulations or games just for game's sake. The output of this learning is a customized plan to take back to the workplace so that learners can actually apply this. It's the creation of a unique toolkit to further their development so that the continuous assessment that they experience in the training becomes a catalyst for continuous improvement in their everyday lives.
So morning everyone, I'm James Tyus and I'm part of the instructional design team at Saffron. So today I'll be taking you through some of the key aspects of this laser guided training and explaining a bit more about what's so innovative and different about it. So then my colleague after that, Karim, will highlight some of the key benefits of this for both you and your business.
So why do we need to do something different? Launched at Davos at the end of 2015, Klaus Schwab introduced the concept of the fourth industrial revolution. This builds on the revolution, the third industrial revolution, or the digital revolution, where the internet became widespread, where access to information went from the Encyclopedia Britannica to Wikipedia, and where from the pains of dial-up, we went to high-speed internet. Now, we have fiber. We have 5G. And with this comes new expectations from us as individuals and us as learners. We demand immediate access to learning. And we're not content to wait for a scheduled classroom intervention that might happen in 3 months' time. We want real-time feedback based on the decisions and choices that we make. And we want to be signposted to further resources so that we can improve our knowledge and ultimately perform better. But most of all, we'd like this to be fun. We want it to be engaging. And at the end of the training, feel a true sense of reward and hopefully recognition. And our managers, well, they want this too. But they want insight. Insight to our performance as learners, our strengths, our challenges, and as good managers for them to then be able to steer us as individuals in the right direction. So how do we achieve this new learning revolution? We rethink it. At Saffron, we've worked with a number of clients in the last 12 months to redesign their standardized approach to learning. One of these is the project management simulation, comprising of 8 hours of content, including 2 hours of feature-length video, that our client wanted to be the Grand Theft Auto of e-learning. Our client, in terms of maturity, are advanced, and collectively with Saffron, we've delivered several blended programs totaling over 100 hours of e-learning content and several week-long classroom-based interventions. But that was in 2011. In 2016, their learners want a flipped balance, where the online content is the core and the face-to-face and the resources support the online content. Spread over a 4-week period, learners are expected to set aside 8 hours of time to work through the simulation and complete the exercises externally that then feed in to the actual simulation.
So I'm really excited today to be able to take you through some of the key learning design features of a project that we've worked on recently, because I'm incredibly proud of the work that we've been able to do. And I genuinely believe it's a real step forward in what e-learning can and should be doing in 2016. And the initial feedback from learners has been fantastic. So welcome to the project management simulation. The first aspect of our approach is a really critical one, and it's the use of purposeful storytelling. So stories are kind of like the PDF files of human information. They make information infinitely more shareable and storable in the mind. So to instantly engage learners, we created an overarching narrative which places them at the center of it. In this simulation, the learner takes up the role of a project manager assigned to a hotel client undergoing a major transformational change. But unfortunately, disaster struck. An IT issue has meant that the hotel chain's reservation system has gone down. So at the opening of the course, Thomas, our CEO, and Clayton, the CIO, have a PR disaster on their hands, and it's up to you, the learner, to try and change things.
Clayton, I've been trying to get hold of you. Where are you?
I'm already at the airport, Thomas. Heading home. Decided to get an earlier flight back. What's wrong?
So right from the offset, we're investing the learner with a huge sense of purpose, as they're given the chance, through their performance in the simulation, to affect the outcome of this overarching storyline. We think at Saffron there are few things more boring than starting a course with an introductory page titled something like, at the end of this course, you will be able to ... So what we did instead was choose to have a dramatic opening that immediately captures the learner's attention and immerses them in this simulated world. So to ensure that the learning was relevant and it was true to life as possible, we contextualized the scenario within a familiar frame of reference and replicated the onboarding process that project managers go through at the beginning of an assignment. So one of the ways we did this was through creating an innovative software-agnostic email template. So throughout the course, the learner gets sent messages, and just as in real life, they have to think how best to prioritize these, and what's the most important to respond to, and which they should simply ignore. So another great feature of this email is that they can be stored, and they can be accessed at any point in the simulation through a dashboard at the top of the screen. So the learner is able to review attachments later on in the course as and when they need it. So to build up the narrative and create a sense of this 60-week project passing, we also created what we call the time pass template that provides learners with information on key milestones and events that happen during this engagement. So the second key aspect of our approach that I wanted to talk about today was our focus on creating highly engaging modern interactions. So in this simulation, we wanted to create a learning experience that simulates real life digitally. So one of the ways we did this was by replicating different technology that we all have access to and use regularly in our day-to-day work. So at the beginning of engagements, project managers are bombarded with masses of information that they need to process and internalize very quickly. So at the beginning of the course, from a tablet, learners are able to review information from several different websites, just as they would in real life, to get a better understanding of the situation and the various stakeholders involved on this engagement. So in this simulation, we deliberately decided to not include any obvious instructions for learners to do anything. So why did we do this? We did this to create a sense of authenticity of this simulated environment and also to push ourselves. At Saffron, in all our learning experiences, we want to match the very best consumer technology has to offer in terms of user experience design. So we wanted to make this course as natural, easy to use and intuitive as possible. So another nice feature of this course is the notepad function, which you see on the screen now. All good project managers take loads of notes. So in the dashboard, we've included this notepad where learners can jot down their thoughts and observations throughout the course at any point, and they can access it whenever they need to. So through doing this and using these sort of features, we're providing the learner with a high degree of autonomy over how they choose to complete this course and the methods in which they choose to do so. So in this simulation, we wanted to create a completely first-person experience with video that breaks the fourth wall. So
Hi, I'm Michelle. Welcome to the team. It's really nice to meet you.
So as you can see, various characters address the learner directly throughout the simulation, and it gives them the opportunity to ask questions and also select responses. So additionally...
Enough from me. Is there anything you'd like to ask? I'll answer what I can, but I've got to head off soon.
So additionally, the scenarios the learner's faced with include branching. And when we talk about branching, we don't mean 1 or 2 step branching. So to illustrate this point, we had to film 20 different outcomes to one of the decisions that the learner took in one module and only transpired 2 modules later. So most organizations nowadays have internal instant messaging systems. So to reflect this, we created another software agnostic template. And again, the learners get to speak to their colleagues through this, and again, make decisions that affect the outcome of the simulation. So in this next example, we wanted to reflect the constant distractions that people have in the connected world nowadays. So in the next example, the learner receives a phone call from their flatmate during a client meeting, and they have to decide what to do.
Get the overall.
Hey, didn't know whether or not you were in that meeting you were telling me about last night. Well,
I always think carefully before taking a call in a meeting.
So real-time feedback needs to be based on the decisions that you make. We're all familiar with the 70-20-10 principle, and in this blend, we've created a mentor-type character to sort of capture the 20 element. We've called him the expert, and he or she or it, as you'll soon see, accompanies you throughout the whole of the simulation. The expert appears at strategic times, giving you further insight as to how best to approach it from a client, team, and personal point of view. Sometimes they appear deliberately, but sometimes you can choose whether you actually want that feedback from the expert. To personalize your experience, you get to choose who your actual mentor is. So I'm going to put some options on the screen for you, and then I'd like you to tell me which ones you actually want to choose. So, takers for Eric as their personal expert, hands up. Oh, resounding no there. Anyone for Sue as their mentor or expert, help guide you through this simulation? Oh, one at the back there. Anyone for the llama? Yep. Interestingly, since this course has been deployed, most of the learners do actually choose the llama. But what we do allow people to do in the course is actually change their expert if they want to. So, seeing as most of you chose the llama, let's hear from him.
Hi there. I'll be on hand to provide you with practical tips and advice.
So I mentioned earlier that throughout the course, you're actually required to do activities that are external to the simulation. What happens in this particular scenario is that you're sent a budgeting tool. It's just a framework. It's an Excel spreadsheet that you download and save to your desktop. And then as the simulation progresses, you're drip-fed further information that you need to then use to populate that spreadsheet. That spreadsheet's quite important because when you've done your calculation on the budgets, and we all know how important budgets are, you feed in that information into the course. You do this via an email that you send to the project management office, and what you receive then is immediate corrective or supportive feedback along with the model answer, so you can compare the system generated spreadsheet alongside your own that you've done independently. At the same time,
When I'm staffing projects, I want to make sure I prioritize our efforts to get the best results.
we include that qualitative feedback from the expert, where he actually directs you on the strategic approach that you need to take as a project manager and signposts you to further learning resources. Around about halfway through the simulation, so bearing in mind we've asked people to potentially sit there for 2 hours already, but over a space of time, we want to encourage a point of self-reflection. And the way that we do this in this instance is to make the learner how they think they perform as a project manager. Framed as a magazine article inspired quiz, this 12-question diagnostic tool allows the learner to see where they are as a PM and importantly trigger the opportunities for change and improvement.
I'll talk to you a bit now about the dynamic scoring part of this course. So when people come to us asking for gamification, we always interrogate this bit. We always ask why. What's the benefit to the learner? What are you trying to achieve through games? So from our perspective, one of the great things about games is this aspect of replayability. There's a reason why people spend hours trying to pass a certain level on Candy Crush, and it's because as humans we crave a sense of mastery. But it's this ability to practice repeatedly in a safe environment that helps to embed learning and ultimately improve performance. So this simulation includes a sophisticated scoring mechanism designed to assess the soft skills associated with project management and make them hard, make them measurable. So throughout the course, they're measured against this overarching competency framework within the 12 core behaviors expected in project management. So at the end of each module, we enforce a period of reflection because we know that it's the only way that people can truly recognize whether performance could have been better or different. So learners are presented with their score in that module, and based on the decisions that they made and the answers they submitted, were they able to prioritize the right documents in the right order? Did they calculate the budget projections correctly? The type of skills that the learners will be judged on in their day-to-day working life are what they're assessed on in this simulation. And going back to that point about replayability, learners are also offered the opportunity to go back in the timeline and reset their scores at particular checkpoints so they can try all or part of the modules again. And throughout the simulation, learners have access to their cumulative score through the dashboard.
In these 4 hours of seat time, the data that the simulation is collecting is phenomenal about this particular person, about this individual. But it's only useful if we can actually show that learner, put it into their language, make it something that they understand in terms of their improvement of their performance, that really the benefits of actually doing this course will come to fruition. At the end of every module, as James said, we give them an opportunity to review their score against the 12 core behaviors. They're invited to replay the simulation to improve the score if they want. But what we really need is this option, or this ability, to take all this data and make it personal to the learners in their real life. To do this, we created a story within the story. So the project has finished, but some months later, the partner of the firm wants to submit the project for an award. And as part of the award submission, you as the learner actually write a review of your performance within the simulation.
Breaking news. Sante voted best boutique hotel chain in our annual poll.
So as I said, the learner is the person who actually submits for the award, and they're invited to rate themselves against the 12 behaviors that are required in terms of their performance within the simulation. They're asked to consider their actions, their decisions, and their choices in the simulation, and score themselves appropriately. They're then shown their self-score and the score generated by the simulation, so they can themselves compare where they think their strengths are and where the simulation has actually determined that they need further development. It's depending on the learner's performance within the simulation that the firm then goes on to win either gold, silver, or bronze at the awards ceremony. An additional award's given also for Young Consultant of the Year, and this recognises how you as a learner have interacted with a junior associate, your mentee. Whether you took the time to mentor and guide them and create the high-performing team that you as a project manager need this project to be. In the final piece of reflection, we ask, and this is after all the awards have been given, we ask the learner to step outside of the simulation, and this is in module form. We want them to reflect on their own performance, not just in the simulation, but actually what they do in their everyday life. A similar diagnostic to this asks the learner to identify their areas of development. Each area is populated with signposts to internal resources, further learning, further reading, further online learning. The learner has the ability to choose what they want to add and to create their own personalised toolkit and that which resources they want to use. But importantly, it's giving them the opportunity to make a commitment to their own personal development. But these objectives need to become SMART. And this is where we move back into the face-to-face interaction. Because armed with this toolkit of action that the learner needs to actually take, and the commitment that they've made to themselves, they then sit down with this printable toolkit and talk to their people manager as part of their continuous professional development. It's this insight for the individual as a learner and their manager that we believe makes this really quite powerful stuff and essentially flips the bend. The toolkit allows the people manager or mentor to have targeted conversations that are personal and backed up with data from the situation and in real life.
Okay, so last but not least is Sante Safari, a suite of mini games focused on certain elements of project management with its own separate scoring and reward system. So within the simulation, these mini games are presented as a value-add training tool developed by your client. So the learner is invited to beta test the app that will be delivered to help embed the business principles relating to project management. So just like within the simulation, Sante Safari also has its own overarching narrative. It takes you on a journey in which you attempt to reconnect with a group you lost while traveling. So the learner can play 9 different arcade-style games, all with different levels of difficulty, and earn points and bonus items. So while each of these games is based on elements and key principles from the main simulation, they don't contribute to the learner's overall score. Instead, the learner is rewarded with an Easter egg-style achievement at the end of the course. So not only do these games subtly embed key learning points, but they're also a key part of the marketing piece of this simulation within the organization. They were designed to create a buzz about this game, so it would spread sort of virally throughout the business.
So all of this seems great, but I guess the question on everyone's lips, and certainly the C-suite of every organization, is what kind of return has this got for the business? We know from learners that they relish that it's readily available to them on demand when they want to access it. They love that it is personal, real-time feedback. They like that they can replay and practice. And they welcome the signposting to other resources through their own generated toolkit. The firm loves the fact that they can scale this to 40,000 consultants globally. And managers appreciate that because everyone is different, because everyone's learning needs are unique, this simulation gives them the ability to actually personalize the feedback in their one-on-one conversations with their teams. This is essentially what we see as laser-guided training. We're sure that you have questions, but it might be difficult to take them without a microphone, but we are literally just here. So please come and visit us after the seminar. We're going to play once more a complete run-through of the whole video that we just showed, just to help recap some of the key learning points that we've included.
Clayton, I've been trying to get hold of you. Where are you?
I'm already at the airport, Thomas. Heading home. Decided to get an earlier flight back. What's wrong?
I'm Michelle. Welcome to the team. It's really nice to meet you.
Well, enough from me. Is there anything you'd like to ask? I'll answer what I can, but I've got to head off soon.
really need to get the overall...
Hey, didn't know whether or not you were in that meeting you were telling me about last night. Well,
I always think carefully before taking a call in a meeting.
Hi there. I'll be on hand to provide you with practical tips and advice.
When I'm staffing projects, I want to make sure I prioritize our efforts to get the best results.